Good morning. Back at Darien State Park, going for a walk through the woods. And today I wanted to talk about a more depressing topic. And I had actually had a different topic that I wanted to talk about today, but a tragedy happened to my friend, a very close friend of mine, the other day. And so this topic's just kind of like what my mind is on today, and that is why bad things happen, or what we perceive as bad or tragic or, pain and suffering. And my perspective on it, why it happens, and I very much resonate with what was taught by Ra in the Law of One Raw Material, which you can find online. I've talked about it before. You can read all of it online, so I'm not really going to get into that today, but that's kind of where the basis for my point of view comes from on this topic. And so, so in my beliefs, divine source is everything. Everything is divine source. The trees, the rocks, me, our houses, our trash cans, from the smallest to the largest thing that exists in the universe, it is all divine source, experiencing itself from different points of view. So, everything. Divine source is everything. You are a divine source experiencing itself through the lens that only you can provide. Because every single person's circumstances are different. The different influences they have through their life create their sense of what reality is. And divine source is pure light and love, which can be hard to believe sometimes, because if divine source is pure light and love, then why is there pain? Why is there suffering? Why do tragedies happen? Why do people experience trauma? It's a tough subject, and it's a touchy subject, and it's kind of hard to talk about, especially to someone who has just gone through a horrible tragedy in their life. And so in order to get it off my chest, I decided I will talk about it on my walk, surrounded by the gnats that are driving me crazy. And so if divine source is pure light and love, then why do bad things happen? And this is I have a twofold answer for you based on my understandings, which is, first of all, in order for divine source to know itself, it becomes everything that we see and stuff that we don't see, that we can't see on this plane of existence. It becomes everything, so that way it can experiment and learn what divine source is. Because if divine source was probably at one point just a singular entity, that would get really boring. So why not explore yourself through different outlets, right? Well, in order to know what you are, you also have to experience what you are not. So in order to understand what divine source is, which is pure light and love, it also has to experience the opposite. It's got to experience the negatives, the pain, the sorrow, the suffering, the tragedies, what we would call evil, which, is kind of based on your perspective of what evil is. Some people might have a stricter view of what evil is, and some people might have a more relaxed view of what evil is. So that's why, essentially, bad things, tragedies, horrible things, quote-unquote evil things happen, because in order to know itself, it also has to know what it is not. And then with that, that's a pretty straightforward, cut answer. But with that, there are nuances, because even though we are all divine source, we all have our own little slice of consciousness that, exists before we come into this physical plane, into our meat suits, and also exists after we leave this plane and go to other planes of existence, because death is not the end. Our physical death, I should say, is only the death of the meat suit, not our consciousness, not our spirit, soul, whatever you want to call it. We cross over back through the veil. When we come into our meat suits, we pass through the veil of forgetting. And the reason why we do that is because we come here to learn. There are things that we want to learn in this lifetime. You may have heard of soul contracts. So, coming here is not forced. We don't have to come here. We want to come here. Most spirits want to be here. There's limited room, so you have to wait your turn. And those that want to come here for lessons, to learn lessons that will help further their consciousness's evolution, back to the understanding of what divine source truly is, and whatnot, they kind of get priority over others. Now, in this specific time and place that we're going through, because we just went through our planetary evolution into fourth density, there's a lot of higher evolved entities that are reincarnating on our planet in order to help us move into the direction of light and love. That's happening. But for those of us who are still young souls, still, evolving along with our planet into fourth density and out of third density, which is what we've been in for the last thousands of years, we come here to learn lessons, and some of those lessons we want to learn are through tragedy. And there are spirits that love you so much that they decided to come here for their own experiences, but they also decided that they would come here to help you as well. So essentially, before you incarnated, the other souls or whatever, and oh my gosh, the bugs are driving me cray cray. It's pretty humid right now, so they're out in droves. These other souls who decided to come live with you in the physical realm during this space-time said, yes, I will be the bad guy in your story, quote unquote bad guy in your story, and cause you this and that trauma. Or, I'll come here to be someone you deeply love in this life, and then, I will sacrifice my time in the physical realm so that way I can die, so you can experience this trauma and learn whatever it is you wanted to come learn in this lifetime. And, this is a really touchy subject, because for someone who has just lost a loved one, unexpectedly, or, before we consider it's their time to go, young children dying, people early 30s, 40s, that's still considered pretty young, dying unexpectedly and tragically. Chances are that they signed up for that before they even were born, before they even decided to come to this plane of existence. For whatever reason. For if it was because they wanted to learn a lesson, or the people who loved them had wanted to learn some sort of lesson, life lesson, how to cope with tragedy, whatever. There's like a million reasons why you might want to go through something like that. And it's hard for us, being through the veil of forgetting, to comprehend that, because forgetting what we truly are, which is divine source, spirits, eternal spirits that can never die, but forgetting that, coming here to this plane of existence, it makes it very confusing. You know, we have to start from scratch to figure it all out. You know, we don't know what we knew before we came here. So for us, it's very traumatizing. And that's by design. We wanted to learn something from it. It's been very dry, so the creek is extremely dry, and I can just kind of walk in it. It's nice and flat rock, so I'm trying to avoid the fishes and bugs, and I'm just kind of walking down the creek bed. It's very cool. Very cool. So, all that being said, those who are left behind in the physical realm are the ones that suffer. And not the ones that pass over, because they're just going back home, you know. And they're still around. They're not gone. We can't see them anymore. They don't have their physical appearance anymore. But their consciousness is still there. They're just on the other side of the veil. And there are ways that we can communicate with them. You know, I've done a video on the clair senses and psychic abilities. You know, there's shamanic journeying and trance work and a bunch of different ways that we can still communicate with them. They're still there. They still love us. They still support us. They still watch over us a lot of the times. So if you go through a tragedy, whoops, sorry, it's still painful. I'm not saying it's not painful. I'm not saying you shouldn't grieve or be sad. Don't lock away those emotions. Feel them, express them, you know, in a safe, healthy way. Talk to somebody if you need to talk to somebody. Don't think just because, you know, they're just gone in physical form that it's not okay to mourn them, because they're physically gone from our life. And being in this physical realm is so amazing because we can feel each other. We can hug, we can play together, we can experience things together, make memories together. And once they're no longer here physically, I mean, it's not the same. So you're still losing something. I mean, even though their consciousness isn't completely gone, it's not gone at all, really. You're still losing something in the physical realm. You know, life in this physical realm is too short, so count your blessings every single day. And don't sweat the small stuff, because carrying that negativity around is not worth it. You know, life is too short to carry around unnecessary negativity. So, yeah, that's my take on tragedies. Obviously, when you're experiencing it, it's much different than from someone experiencing it, you know, that's not as close to it, to the tragedy. It's a lot easier being an outsider looking in. You know, I grieved for my friend, but I wasn't the one that experienced the tragedy, so it's a lot easier to talk about it than when you're actually going through it. And again, if you go through a tragedy, grieve. Don't bottle up the emotions. Let it out. That's what we came here to do. We came here to feel. We came to the physical realm to experience life and all the ups and downs that come with it, all the joys, all the sorrows. It's why we're here. We wanted to learn something. So feel it, express it in a safe way, and remember that we are all divine source. We're all connected. They're not actually gone. They're just not physically here anymore. And grieve for that loss, and hold them in your heart. And if you want to talk to them, just talk to them out loud in your mind. They can hear you. They're still there. They're not gone. And that's my next video. I'm going to be talking about like spirit and ghosts and hauntings and stuff like that. That was the topic for today, but I felt called that this was a more important topic for today, so just here grounding myself and listening to the wind in the trees and counting my blessings every day. So grateful for all the blessings I have received in this life. I don't know if you can see the dancing dragonflies over there. Blessed be all. Have a wonderful day. Count your blessings. Peace, love, and enjoy Mother Earth.